Today on Nova Legends podcast, I want to talk about the recently completed live period, VHSL live period that we had at St. James in June 2023. I believe this is the first time we ever had this type of event. And it was from what I saw online, I didn't get a chance to go. It was a great success. Had some terrific teams on the boys and girls side. I know on the boys side, Hayfield, the two-time defending state champ, South Lakes was there. John Marshall, the number one team in the nation by some measure, Class 2 champs last year. Patriot was there. Woodside was there, the Class 5 champ. Truly, probably the most meaningful competition that these teams have had in many years. And the reason for that is in the high school competition, in the regular season competition that culminates in a postseason, the best teams do not play. It's more likely than not because of 6 classifications. If a team happens to be on your level, they're not going to be in the same classification as you. You'll never have to face them, and we'll never know who's the best. Well, this is just a small snapshot, and obviously some teams didn't have their best players. John Marshall lost 3 games this weekend, and I would believe that the number one team in the nation is going to have is going to win some games in a summer tournament like this. But besides that, it was great competition, and it's a great idea. Also, it gave our public school kids a chance to compete in an environment where lots of college coaches can come watch lots of players at the same time. I was talking to my friend Jason Coleman, whose son Gibraltar Coleman had transferred to a private school. He was a little bit disappointed. He's like, "Why didn't I have that when we were playing at West Springfield High School? Maybe we wouldn't have gone." It really does narrow the gap between the private schools and the public schools in terms of opportunity. Obviously, the private schools can still reclass kids on an easier basis than public school, and that's a big advantage. And also sometimes they have less off-season rules than public schools. But this is a huge one. So, kudos to the Virginia High School League for having it. I was on Twitter today, and I saw that Sherman Rivers, the coach at Patriot, was going back and forth with Steph Welsh, the Woodside coach, whose teams played this weekend, and I guess Patriot had beaten them pretty soundly. And Patriot had produced a highlight reel of that film, and Steph Welsh basically said, "Hey, look, this is summertime. We'll see you guys in December." Whereas Sherman said, "Well, you did get scouting reports on the game." So, and not just for Patriot, but other teams that Woodside had played, I guess they were at scout. So it was nice that there was this offseason, there was this banter, that the games, mean something, and the coaches were going at it. So I thought that was enjoyable, and that just kind of adds to what the games mean. And you're going to have to remember these coaches like Sherman Rivers at Patriot, Carlos Poindexter at Hayfield, they have to schedule these great games in the regular season, be it home and away, or what they call a showcase, kind of a 1 game or 1 or 2 game showcases where they play teams as a way of getting good players, because a lot of times in their district play, they're not playing great teams all year long. So you want to fill in the blanks and play some top teams when you can. So this allows them to do that. Not only that, the postseason is really pretty worthless for Virginia high school teams. Basically, for example, South Lakes is probably the top rated team in Northern Virginia coming back for next year. When I say Northern Virginia, I meant the old Northern region, Class 6 C and D. They have Jordan Scott, who's been offered by many Division I schools, top level Division I schools. In Hayfield, who was a returning state champ, they would not play until the state semifinals in the playoffs. I'm not making this up. So the top 2 teams in Northern Virginia would not play until the state semifinals. So, and then Patriot, who's 35 miles away in Noakesville, Virginia, they wouldn't play the winner of Patriot in South Lakes until the state final. So these teams that are awesome teams, there are no way for them to match up until the very end. Instead, in the postseason, they were going to have to beat teams over and over and over and over again, teams that they played all year long, and teams will play in the district tournament and the regional tournament. That's the way they do it in Virginia high school league basketball. It's ridiculous, but that's the way they do it. Now in soccer, they did tweak this a little bit. It made it a little bit better. They had I guess a jamboree type postseason, and you did play teams in the semifinals. You were able to play teams from out of the area, so you didn't have to wait to the final game. So that was kind of cool in that, like if that was the case in basketball, Hayfield could possibly play Patriot in the semifinals. Woohoo! But it is a little bit better. But the postseason for high school league is still atrocious. So you have to enjoy these off-season tournaments. You have to enjoy these showcases during the year, like the Jackson Reed Hayfield Showdown, because that's the best we're going to get. So, when I talk about these issues, people often say, you question, why is it like this? There's never a good answer. Usually it's a non-answer, like, well, the small schools want it that way. Well, I want a lot of things, there's a lot of, you don't get what you want. The question is there a competitive reason? Are we making more money? Are we getting bigger crowds because of the way? No, it's never a reason like that. It's because someone wants it that way. That's not good enough. We need leadership to take control of these decisions, lobby to people who have power, and create a meaningful postseason. If you need help, look at the other 49 states that do it. We don't have to have the worst postseason in the country. We can do better. Now, one of the reasons why nothing ever happens is during the season, we're in a regular season competition. Teams are trying to win. And then you get the postseason, we're worried about the next game and advancing. We're not really thinking about the structure. We're just trying to win the next game. The neutrals, generally, there's not many neutrals left because the postseason is so ridiculous. No one really follows the sport that much. We're trying to bring it back, obviously, but it doesn't have much of a neutral following it anymore. But the supporters and the parents, schools, they're going to support their teams no matter what the structure is. So, you're not going to have a big uproar to change things during the season. When they win the title, when the title's won, then we're going to focus on the winners. We're going to celebrate. There's never really a focus on the structure. And then what happens is the season's over, it's off season, we kind of go away, and there's no uproar. So there's never a time when we can lobby for a reasonable postseason, when we can tell people this has got to change. So, because it goes away before it's relevant again. So we got to keep the pressure on. We got to talk to people. Don't let them give us non-answers. The small schools want it. It's about money. Well, if it's about money, explain why it's about money. Let's get some answers. Let's try to change the postseason. Let's move back to 3 classifications so we can have meaningful high school postseasons. All the things we can do. Let's have brackets where teams don't play the same teams over and over again. They play teams from other parts of the state. There's things that we can do if we condense it back to 3 classifications and we bring common sense back to Virginia high school league sports. Thanks for listening.